you've described, and we've heard this morning from Scott Galloway, and we've been referring to it, an oligarchy in this country, a corrupt oligarchy of wealthy people. I mean, Scott Galloway pointed out that 10 years ago there were, what did he say, 500 billionaires in America, and today there are 2,500. And we have the ruling or the decision yesterday by Mark Zuckerberg to take basically no responsibility for anything that anyone does on Facebook. That gets me to the country itself and to our children. It's frightening to think of how many children, and it was pointed out a couple of times today already, the percentage of people, young people on Facebook who derive all of their news from Facebook or TikTok. So if you leave the coasts, if you leave the East Coast or the West Coast, you're looking at a news desert now. Yeah. Local newspapers, local news is gone. We're reverted to TikTok and stuff like that for our children. And we have the president-elect of the United States just yesterday decrying what a terrible country this is.
Right.
What was the exact quote, Willie, that he used?
What a horrible place, he said, talking about our election process.
What a horrible place. What a horrible place. How do you convince people that the America that we live in, the America that the roots of America that we know about, it's not a horrible place?
I'll add to that, Kurt, and you can respond to this, because everything you described and what, Trump was doing at his press conference yesterday sounds very shocking to us, to many. I also think that it's fair to say it's self-defeating and self-destructive for him and not in his best interest, which is another conversation. But at the same time, isn't this exactly what his supporters want to see? Wouldn't people who voted for him say, oh, that's great? And how do we navigate that disconnect?
Well, I think one thing we have to remember and look at is that the 49.5% of the electorate who voted for him are not of one mind, right? I mean, there are some of them who the low information voters that put him over the top, they want the big, I'm a selfish, shameless bully, and look at him, he's being that. And let's make, America
bigger.
Well, like me, Donald Trump is thinking, like a selfish bully who cares about nothing but money. But we'll see if everybody goes with that for how long. We'll see also as he replays his greatest hits, as he did yesterday. Oh, I'm going to stop windmills. Really? No, you're not.
Well, I mean, he won the election, so I'm just saying there are people that support this. They know him.
He won the election. He won the election. We'll see also, starting in 2 weeks, if to what degree his tune changes. He will still complain about what Biden did, but he'll say, oh, look, inflation's down. He will then go through the Steve Ratner charts without the full context, and suddenly he'll be taking credit starting on January 21st.
Joe.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Again, the 21st is going to make all the difference in the world, and suddenly America is going to be made great again. I just, you look, Mark Leibovich, at the consumer confidence index, and Republicans, oh, it's the worst thing ever. This economy is the worst economy. We feel horrible about ourselves. Donald Trump wins. Boop. Republicans shoot straight up.
Those lines on the graph went like this.
And the Democrats went down. Oh, now Democrats are saying this is the worst economy we've ever had. And so, I think so much of this America is a terrible country. It lasts until about 12:01 on January the 20th. And that's when Republicans are going to be saying America rating.
It does give you a window, though, into the power of political messaging. I mean, when you look at so much that has been mentioned in this hour, whether from Scott Galloway or Steve Ratner or whoever, I mean, juxtaposed with what Donald Trump was saying yesterday and what so much of the country believes, probably based on a lot of Republican messaging led by Donald Trump, you do have a sense, and look, I mean, this is something, after so many people believed everything that Donald Trump said about the economy, about how this was just like this iconic economy that he presided over, I always thought that Democrats actually might learn a lesson during the Biden years, that maybe it was politically smart to chest thump a little more, to sort of take one page out of the Trump playbook
Right.
and actually work really hard to sell your economy. And Democrats, I think take a very kind of supercilious view of marketing, branding, things that they tend to look down on, things that Donald Trump is known for, and I think has really sort of used to great political effect and also to effect of branding the economy and making people feel good about the economy when he's in office.
The thing is, Sam Stein, I noticed his first term. He even got host, I've said this before, on MSNBC to say, well, of course, this is the greatest economy of all time, when in fact, by the numbers, it was ranked 7th in GDP growth post-World War II. But he just, we had the whole rollout of Bidenomics. Let me show you, if you look at this chart, manufacturing per ratio,
read the briefing book.
Whatever, and here's the briefing book, where Donald Trump says this is the greatest economy of all time. Right. But it's just a difference between how Democrats sell it and how Republicans sell it. If Republicans are selling it, then it is greatest economy of all time. You've never had it better. This is unbelievable. It's the worst ever under whatever. Something that Democrats certainly recently, I guess since Bill Clinton. Because Bill Clinton could do it.
The history of this, the last 3 Democratic presidents, Clinton, 94, Stan Greenberg and the pollsters say, do not talk about how great the economy is because you'll seem out of touch. People who don't think the economy is great will think you're completely, out of it. Obama comes in, Great Recession, really hard to say things are getting better because people don't feel it.
Right.
Biden comes in, COVID had just hit, 20 million plus people had lost their job. Really hard to say. And inflation, of course, really hard to say, well, things are actually getting better. In fact, we are comparatively better. That said, he manifests things into existence. And one of the great accomplishments he had over the campaign was convincing the American public that his presidency ended in 2019, that the COVID year just did not matter and wasn't under his watch. And all those jobs that were lost, all the people that died, all the suffering that took place was not his responsibility. And frankly, he convinced enough people to win.
Well, Mika, it is the power of nostalgia. We talked about it yesterday. The power of nostalgia. People that went to vote. And I completely agree with Kurt. You cannot say that this 49.9% all voted for this or all voted for that, because I've heard it. We've all talked to a lot of Trump voters. They're like, I don't really like the guy. I wouldn't invite him over to my house for Thanksgiving dinner, but I voted for him. A lot of swing voters have said that. But there's the power of nostalgia, and I think we've overlooked COVID too much because, as Sam said, people just remember things were better with Trump. Things were better before the pandemic. Things were better economically. Groceries were cheaper. Gas was cheaper, et cetera, et cetera. And it's that nostalgia, that pre-COVID nostalgia. People want to go back to how things were in the before times. And I think that's something that, again, not just Democrats, I think a lot of us missed.
Staff writer at The Atlantic, Mark Leibovich, thank you so much for coming on this morning. Good to see you. Contributing editor to The Atlantic, Kurt Andersen, thank you as well. His book, Evil Geniuses, The Unmaking of America, is a New York Times bestseller. And